in Afrin, following Rajo and some other parts, by taking the control of Afrin city center, we have accomplished the objectives of the operation to a great extent, starting from the surrounding regions. We continue with our operation, including Manbij. We have plans for some other parts, some other areas of Syria to clear those areas of terrorists, and we continue with our support delivered for Idlib. At the same time, so far, 7 out of 12 observation points have been in our control, and in line with that, the borders will be controlled from those 12 points of observation. So 7 of them are in total control of us, and from there we control the border areas, and the other ones will hopefully be in operation. So Dolbet, Aleppo, and Raqqa, like disasters will be prevented to take place in Idlib. In Manbij, there were some promises given to us, some commitments and some statements made, and depending on those, we have been conducting those talks and negotiations. We're not acting on random words. Starting from Obama's administration period to our day, Mr. Obama himself personally made a promise to me, and he said YPG, PYD will be pushed to the east of Euphrates, and the real people of Manbij will live on there. Who are those people? The Arab, because the area is by 90% populated by our Arab friends, and PYD or YPG have no place there, but on the contrary, they put those groups into those areas and displaced the real people of Manbij. And we say we should talk over this issue again. And we said the same thing to Tillerson, and he made a different proposal. He said, you can hold the north while we can hold the south. And I said to him, why you or us? The real righteous owners of those lands are known. It is the Arab. We should hand those areas to them, and maybe for a period we can ensure the security only. I said we can cooperate in that. Then we will pull out, create the mechanism. After we pull out, we will be handing those areas over to the real owners of those lands. But they kept silent, and this is how things are unfolding. Despite all, despite the delay, we are expecting to continue. In Resurai and Jarablat Haseki, like regions that are close to the Iraqi border, we have initiated all the preparations to rid those regions of the terrorists as well, because those regions are always an element of a threat for us, and we will never allow such elements to be present at our borders, because we are accustomed to such things. We know what they are, and one day you might see that all of a sudden they may start their harassing fires, and we can never allow that to take place. Yes, of course, the allied countries and the soldiers of the allied countries, we have no intention of harming them, but we cannot allow the terrorists walk freely in those areas. Every terrorist we identify will be neutralized, and it is a responsibility of ours for our nation. Why are we holding the office, the government? It is to administrate the state, and who has the authority to administrate all the institutions of the state? It's our government. So from A to Z, starting from the military forces to the law enforcement, we have to deliver on that task. Otherwise, we can't explain it to our nation. And similarly, in Iraq, it is our responsibility to remove the separatist terrorist organization of Iraq and end their activities. And we are determined about that. And now in our agenda we have Sinjar. Certain things are said about Sinjar. Why is it on the agenda? It is because it is an alternative to Kandil, and that's why Sinjar is the same for us with Kandil. And in Sinjar, no matter how they are called, all the terrorist organizations will be cleared of Sinjar, and our operations will continue, and that's why one night, all of a sudden, we can also go into that region. And of course, we cannot define exact dates beforehand for such things. Things will fall out suddenly. And we tell to the Iraqi government, if you are going to do it, do it. Otherwise, let us do it. And they have made their commitments. The activities of the terrorist organizations will come to an end on Iraqi lands, and this is a common problem for our government and as well for the Iraqi government. And if they desire, we are more than ready to cooperate with the Iraqi government as well. And I believe we have portrayed our decisiveness about our southern borders, and there is no meaning in coming up with criticism against Turkey in this regard. PYD and YPG. Those approaches that do not keep them equal, do not consider them equal to one another, can't be saying the truth, and our doors are closed to them. So no matter how they are called, those terrorist organizations, by naming them differently, if they want to get involved in a game played, they will be the same for us, because we know that they are the babies of the same snake. And we do show and prove those with the footage, with the evidence, with the photos taken, but they do not believe that they are the same. And that's why, if they don't believe in us, then we will make our decisions our own. And it is not about naming those terrorist groups differently. We are busy with removing them, with clearing them of those areas, not naming them differently. And recently, France made some declarations that we think are totally wrong, and I believe of misunderstandings, and we are sad to hear those. Last week, I spoke to Macron in person, and I heard him saying some weird things. And when I heard him saying such things, I had to articulate things clearly to him. And it may have been of high frequency, but I had to tell those things to him, because our armed forces are doing what they have to do, and it is no one's place to place us in a position where we don't deserve. And previously, some members of terrorist groups who were active in some places, some other places, are now hosted at the highest level, and it is at a signal of hostility to us, and everyone should very well know that. And our security forces also were attacked this morning. And in that attack, two security people lost their lives, and three soldiers were injured during that attack. I wish the blessings of God on our martyrs, and I wish a quick recovery to those injured. So those are the people of a terrorist organization who attack on people walking on the street and are teachers or are security forces. So that terrorist organization is such a despicable, indecent organization. And they say it's not a PKK, it's not a PKK organization, or it's called some other way. But for us, they're all PKK. You, the Westerners, what you call the Syrian Democratic Forces are actually the same terrorist organization, and you are trying to deceive us with that, but we know what they are in their essence, and we can read through their cells. You cannot fool us, and we have all the details about them. And despite your efforts to change their names every 24 hours, we know what they are, what their true selves are. And they have some names, and in official meetings I wouldn't bother to mention those names, but in one-on-one meetings, if we have the chance, I can talk about them in detail. And they say we have assured support to YPG. What sorts of words are those to be uttered? If these are really stated, and by the way, the spokesperson of the presidency made a declaration, a statement, and he said that he really stated those things, and it goes beyond the authority or the place of that person to say such things, because you don't have such an authority. You should not go into activities that you cannot even up with, because we don't have a need for mediation. Since when has the state of Turkey been sitting around the same table with a terrorist organization? Put that out of your mind. You might sit around the same table with terrorist organizations, but Turkey will fight against the terrorist organizations as it has been doing in Afrin. So you may continue in your own way, but who are you to use the term of mediation in between a terrorist organization and Turkey? You haven't been even fully called to accounts about your dark and dirty history. You may consider Turkey in the same scope with a terrorist organization in your own way, but for Turkey that is definitely not the case. In Turkish we have a proverb: tell me who your friend is and I will tell you who you are. And that phrase indeed defines the things in and out. Their friends are the people of YPG. So the people, the organization which is the most immoral, indecent, bloodthirsty, and the ones who have the most blood in their hands. And that's why, after this point of view, point in time, France has no right to say things about terrorist organizations. And those who have said such things will understand their mistakes sooner or later. Those who presumptuously support such terrorist organizations should be well prepared to see the consequences, because the challenges we face now might come to their way as well. We have no tolerance, not even a minor level of tolerance for such things, and I don't know what else is there for us to articulate for that. And those who guided some groups to Daesh on purpose now have been thinking over how they will deal with Daesh itself. And those who support PYD now will fall into the same scope. Those who survived the Daesh terror, if they try to seek asylum in France due to the support they made a promise to deliver, once they seek the asylum in their countries, they should not expect anything from us. So in our view, rather than such unnecessary discussions, we should concentrate on how we can build up the future in Syria again. And we are always ready to talk, to negotiate with the parties who can take actions in this regard. For example, we should be talking about how we can provide the humanitarian support to Syria, or how we can establish the infrastructure back in Syria. And the millions of Syrian refugees in our country, we can talk about how we can cooperate to ensure them a livelihood. You are hosting 7 terrorists at Elysee Palace, but while Turkey is hosting 3.5 million refugees, have you ever asked to yourself what you can do? Or how many Syrian refugees have you hosted in France? Can you answer that question? But you show how much you are against terrorism by hosting 7 terrorists at your palace. And our Syrian brothers and sisters, how can they be provided with a bright future again? Have we ever talked about such subject? So those who would like to talk about the Syrian issue should come to us with such items in their agenda. And ensuring the secure zones for our Syrian brothers and sisters to live and to repatriate them, we have portrayed a lot of actions, step up our efforts in this regard, and we will continue as well. And one other problem that Turkey is facing is the main opposition in Turkey. No matter how distant we try to keep from them, they come and somehow keep us busy. And the chairperson of the main opposition party has brought CHP to a point to cut its ties with its past. He is speaking always about the party being the party of Mustafa Kemal, but today's CHP has nothing to do with the CHP of the past, national or indigenous. They have no elements related with those, and that structure danger that have many other parties irrelevant to the party itself on board as their comrades cannot be the party of Mustafa Kemal, and this person who only speaks bitter words or words of imprudence can't be taken as a counterpart. We consider him null, and he has problems of perception or comprehension. He is now out of the scope of politics, but is a subject of medicine.